A quiet road in Dry Creek, Adelaide, 2012. A father and his son have been lured to a meeting near the Descendants bikie gang clubrooms. They believe they are going to talk. Instead, a former Descendants member fires 8 shots into their car. The son, Giovanni, is hit. The father, despite his own wounds, drives the car away from the scene. He flags down a police car on Prospect Road. Giovanni dies. A .30-57 Magnum is found tucked in the son's trousers. DNA belonging to the father is later found on the trigger. The father refuses to name the shooter. He refuses to cooperate. He has survived 4 previous attempts on his life. He survives this one too. His name, at the time of that shooting, is Vince Focarelli, state president of the Comancheros motorcycle club in South Australia, former Hells Angels nominee, founder of his own street gang, a man with an 11-year sentence already behind him for heroin and cannabis trafficking. A man a senior detective would later describe as someone who knows who murdered his son and could provide a statement that would in all likelihood see them convicted, if he chose to. He has never chosen to. He changed his name to Imran Abdul Salam. He converted to Islam. He moved to Malaysia. And the question that follows every chapter of his story, whether any of it represents genuine transformation or something more calculated, has never been answered. Thank you for watching our video. Don't forget to hit subscribe to support us. That single tap keeps us going and gives us the motivation to keep making the next one. Now, let's go back to where Vincenzo Focarelli begins. Vincenzo Focarelli was born in Italy. He arrived in Adelaide as a young man, into a city that in the 1980s and 1990s was developing its own specific criminal ecosystem, distinct from Sydney and Melbourne, but no less serious. He formed his own street gang as a teenager, the first version of a pattern that would repeat itself across the next 3 decades. Focarelli building something, losing it, and building again. He worked his way into Adelaide's organised crime networks. He became a Hells Angels nominee, the first formal step toward full membership. Then he fell out with his sponsor, Danny Papadopoulos, in 2006. He was kicked out before he received his patch. Rather than disappear, he started again. In 2007, he founded the New Boys, a street gang based out of his Hindley Street tattoo studio, comprised mainly of young men of Middle Eastern background involved in low-level drug dealing. Over the next 5 years, the New Boys clashed repeatedly and violently with Hells Angels members across Adelaide, until many of the New Boys transitioned to the Comancheros, and Focarelli rose to become state president of the Comancheros motorcycle club in South Australia. 3 gangs in 2 decades. Kicked out of one, built 2 more. A man whose specific skill, according to the record, was not violence alone, but the construction of criminal organizations from scratch. Before the Comancheros, before the New Boys, before even the Hells Angels, there is an 11-year sentence. Focarelli served time, with a non-parole period of 6 years and 6 months, for offences including heroin and cannabis trafficking and assault occasioning actual bodily harm. He was released on parole in September 2006. Within months of that release, he had fallen out with his Hells Angels sponsor. Within a year, he had founded the New Boys. Within 5 years, he was state president of the Comancheros. An 11-year sentence, followed immediately by the most significant expansion of his criminal career. The sentence did not function as a circuit breaker. It functioned as an interruption, after which everything resumed at a larger scale. That pattern, documented in this series across multiple investigations from Melbourne to Auckland to Istanbul, is one of the most consistent features of organised crime biographies. The system removes someone for a period, the network waits, the person returns, the network resumes. What changes is not the trajectory. What changes is the scale. October 2012. Vince Focarelli and his son Giovanni are lured to a meeting at Dry Creek, near the Descendants bikie gang clubrooms. The lure is a meeting. The reality is an ambush. A former Descendants member fires 8 shots into the car. Giovanni is hit. Vince is wounded. He drives the car away from the scene. He flags down a police car on Prospect Road. Giovanni dies. Vince Focarelli is taken to the Royal Adelaide Hospital. While he is there, Fink's members visit him. Fink's members also attend Giovanni's funeral. A $200,000 reward is still available for anyone who provides information leading to a conviction over Giovanni's murder. Nobody has claimed it. Vince Focarelli has not provided that information, despite, according to a senior detective, knowing who is responsible. That detective made the calculation explicit. There are still several people in Adelaide's criminal community who would prefer Vince was dead. He still has enemies and possesses valuable information on the criminal activities of many, many individuals. He knows who murdered his son and could provide a statement if he chose that would in all likelihood see them convicted of murder. That person knows this and will always be fearful of this, of Vince turning. He has not turned. His son's murder remains unsolved. The $200,000 reward remains unclaimed. And the person who killed Giovanni, according to that detective, remains afraid of the day Focarelli changes his mind. After the shooting, after Giovanni's death, after his own fifth assassination attempt, Vince Focarelli converts to Islam. He changes his name to Imran Abdul Salam. He leaves Adelaide. He moves to Malaysia. He begins speaking publicly about redemption, about leaving the criminal world behind, about using his faith to benefit the community. In a 2022 podcast interview, he describes his journey from forming street gangs as a teenager to becoming state president of the Comancheros, and then walking away from all of it. He is now in Malaysia and has left that life of crime behind, doing his best to benefit the community through his faith. 2 readings, both in the public record, both supported by verifiable evidence. Reading 1. A man who survived 5 assassination attempts, watched his son die in a car beside him, and found in religious conversion a genuine exit from a world that had nearly killed him 6 times. The conversion is real. The departure from Adelaide is real. The public messaging about redemption is consistent. Reading 2. A man who knows who killed his son and has chosen silence over justice. Who carries, according to a senior detective, information that could convict a murderer and has decided not to use it. Who changed his name and moved to a country without an extradition treaty with Australia while facing deportation proceedings under Section 501 of the Migration Act. Both readings describe the same man, neither cancels the other. In 2017, the Australian Department of Immigration serves Focarelli with a notice of intent to cancel his visa. Under Section 501 of the Migration Act, the same mechanism used against Alex Vella of the Rebels. The same mechanism that stranded Vella in Malta. Focarelli is given 28 days to file a submission justifying why he should be allowed to remain on Australian soil. The submission will go to Immigration Minister Peter Dutton. A senior detective is quoted in reporting on the case, making the specific point about Giovanni's murder, that Focarelli's continued presence in Australia represents both a target and a resource. A target because people want him dead. A resource because he knows things that could lead to convictions. By the time of the deportation threat, Focarelli had already been charged with possessing a firearm without a license and possessing a controlled drug following the 2012 shooting. He served 19 months with a 14-month non-parole period. Then, he left Australia. He is in Malaysia. The deportation question became, in some sense, irrelevant. He was already gone. Vincenzo Focarelli, born Italy, arrived Adelaide, formed street gang as teenager, sentenced to 11 years, heroin and cannabis trafficking, assault occasioning actual bodily harm, non-parole period 6 years 6 months, released on parole September 2006. 2006, Hells Angels nominee, falls out with sponsor Danny Papadopoulos, kicked out. 2007, founds New Boys Street Gang, Hindley Street Tattoo Studio, low-level drug dealing, repeated violent clashes with Hells Angels. Many New Boys transition to Comancheros. Focarelli becomes South Australia State President of Comanchero Motorcycle Club. 5 assassination attempts survived across career. October 2012. Lured with son Giovanni to Dry Creek. 8 shots fired into car. Giovanni killed. Focarelli wounded. Drives to Prospect Road. Flags down police car. A .357 Magnum found on Giovanni. Focarelli's DNA on the trigger. Pleads guilty to possessing firearm without license and possessing controlled drug. 19 months imprisonment, 14-month non-parole period. Refuses to name shooter. Giovanni's murder unsolved. $200,000 reward unclaimed. 2017. Visa cancellation notice under Section 501. Converts to Islam. Changes name to Imran Abdul Salam. Moves to Malaysia. As of 2022, giving public interviews about redemption and faith. Still in Malaysia, as of reporting available for this investigation. There is a moment at the center of Vince Focarelli's story that no interview, no podcast, no redemption narrative has ever fully addressed. A man drives away from the scene where his son has just been shot. He is wounded. He flags down a police car. He gets medical attention. And then, at the moment when he could give the name of the person who killed his child, he says nothing. He says nothing in the days that follow. He says nothing in the months that follow. He says nothing in the years that follow. He changes his name. He changes his country. He changes his religion. And the person who killed Giovanni Focarelli remains free. A $200,000 reward remains unclaimed. The senior detective's words from 2017 remain the most precise summary of what the silence means. He knows. He could tell us. The person who killed his son knows he could. And that knowledge, on both sides, is the thing that cannot be changed by a name change, or a conversion, or a move to Malaysia. The first question this raises is not about criminal loyalty. It is about fatherhood. What does a man owe his dead son? Is the code of silence, maintained for a decade, something that protects a father from further violence? Or is it a second betrayal of a son who has already been killed once? The second question is about redemption itself. Focarelli describes his conversion as genuine, his departure from Adelaide as real, his commitment to community through faith as sincere. All of that may be true, and simultaneously, a murder remains unsolved because he has chosen silence over justice. Can both things be true? Can a man be genuinely transformed and still withhold the name of his son's killer? For our community in Aotearoa, the connection is specific. The Comancheros organisation that Focarelli helped build in South Australia is the same organisation whose New Zealand chapters have been the subject of multiple operations documented in this series, from Operation Scuba to Operation Texas. The pattern of men who build criminal organisations, survive violence, and eventually claim redemption, while the organisations they built continue, is one this series has now documented repeatedly. The organisation outlasts the man. The conversion does not dismantle the structure. What do you reckon? When a man converts, changes his name, and moves to another country, but still holds the name of his son's killer, has he actually left his old world behind? Or has he just found a new way to remain inside it?